Welcome to today's video. My name is Rose if this is your first time here, and today we're going to do my weekly setup in my Hobonichi weeks, but I thought I could take a little more time to explain how I use my weeks. I also have my previous year's weeks over here, so I can maybe talk a little bit more about different ways I use my weeks, different things you can track, and just hopefully give you some ideas on how you could use a Hobonichi weeks or a similar planner, because I know we are well into planner season. So hopefully this can give you a little bit of inspiration. And yeah, if you like that kind of thing, please hit subscribe. Please like this video. I make a lot of content about stationery, planning, stickers, etc. So if that's your jam, please stick around. So I have grabbed this jellyfish bunnies sticker sheet from Sticky Rice Co. to kind of be my theme for this week's spread. And then I just grabbed my two watery type washi tapes. These are both from the Coffee Monsters Co. This one is brand new to me. Finally got my June pre-order. And I feel like I may have said in a previous video that I was going to make a haul video when that arrived, but I've seen so many haul videos already from the June pre-order because I think I was like one of the last people to get their order. So I figured you guys didn't need to see that because you've probably already seen it from like 50 other people. Okay, so we are going to be working on my weekly setup today, but I thought I may as well show you my whole weeks before we do that. So this is my third year using Hobonichi weeks, and I love this. I have already purchased two actually to use next year, which I've already talked about in a few videos, so I'm not going to talk about that. But this year, this is how I've been using this one. So this page, all of this originally started in a different planner, and I moved it all into my weeks maybe like 2 months ago. And this is my mental health gamification situation that I have done for 2025. So all of these numbers correlate to a tracker that is on my weeks or my weekly spread. So like the amount of points, these are the numbers that correlate to the weekly spread. So the number of checks I got here equals how many points I got for the week, and then the amount of points I got for the week go right here. And then once I reached whatever amount of points, these are the little rewards I have created for myself. So obviously this is a year at a glance spread. So I know a lot of people don't use this page as a tracker at all. They would simply leave it as a year at a glance to reference back to. But if you're not a person that needs a year at a glance for whatever reason, you could use it as another tracker. Yeah, it's a whole calendar. So like, you could really use this page so many ways. And then you have your, I forget what they actually call this spread. I think it's like 365 days at a glance or something. It's like the year at a glance, but obviously different than a normal calendar. So this year I've been using this to track my steps. As you can see, this is in thousands. So every day I note the amount of steps I got, and then at the end of the month, this is the average. And I've just been plotting it this way. And to be so honest, I don't love tracking it this way. I like tracking my steps, and that is something I will continue to do, but I think I will probably go back to putting the steps tracker in my notes section next year, which is how I did it last year. So let me grab my 2024 and I'll show you. So this is how I tracked my steps last year, and instead of writing down every single day, I did it by weekly average, and then I averaged out the week. So this is probably a more accurate number. So I don't know, we'll think about that more for next year, but I think I need to kind of blend these two versions. But yeah, steps is one way you could use this. I think what I might use this section for next year is how I had used it in the previous 2 years, which was like a hobbies tracker. So I picked some things that I just wanted to do more of. So last year it was reading, new experience, that's kind of generic, participating in one of my hobbies, exercising that was not work related, because I'm a dance teacher, and like actively working towards goals. And then in 2023, it was like a similar concept, but just different specific things. And I like that it creates a pretty little colorful situation. And it gives me, you know, a good idea of like where I was spending time and energy, like my free time at least. So this was really helpful. So I think this might be what I do next year, but just wanted to show you guys, like, these are at least 2 options of ways that you can use this page to track things. I know a lot of people will also maybe track like the kinds of workouts they do and that sort of thing. I realized I didn't even say this. I use my weeks as a habit and health tracker. So the general theme of everything in this planner is like self-development, I guess you could say. My monthly pages I use as I call it my monthly challenge. Really, it's just like a goal that I am focusing on specifically for that month. So like in February, I was finished 2 books. March, still finished 2 books because I didn't do that. A lot of times they're like either reading or exercise focused, so like ab conditioning. So the actual challenges themselves vary each month, but it's typically like some kind of point system that I've created for myself. So for instance, currently in October, I'm trying to get back into studying Korean regularly. So every day I am trying to do at least 10 minutes of studying. And if I do, that's 1 point. 2 hours total is another 2 points. And then at least once a week, a writing practice, a speaking practice, and I'm trying to watch some form of Korean media without subtitles, just to like, you know, immerse myself more in the language in an auditory way. So that's how I'm doing that for this month. So of course, there's a million ways you can use your monthly spread, and I know a lot of people don't tend to use them for tracking, but I like to use it for tracking since everything in this planner is focused around that. So if you've never considered using a monthly spread for tracking, now maybe you can. Yeah. Okay, so, I also did a pen swatch on a monthly spread. These are all my Tombow. Actually, I should update this. So these were the Tombos I had at the beginning of the year. But I think I have quite a few more, so maybe I should revisit this. Okay, and now let's actually talk about the weekly spread. So I guess I'll just kind of explain it as I set up for the week. I think that will make more sense. One thing I do want to say off the bat, though, that I'm going to do a little bit differently this week is I'm going to shift my trackers to this side of the page and the deco to this side, because I mentioned this in a previous video. Last year, oops, sorry, just kicked my tripod. Last year, my weeks ended up like this. I don't know how well you can really see. It's like really thin at the top and then it's really chunky down here, and it really bothered me towards the end of the year. And it happened because I was putting washi at the bottom of every single page and nothing ever at the top. So this year I had been trying really hard to keep stuff at the top and the bottom so that it would chunk up a little bit more evenly. But the thing I didn't think about is that if my deco is all right here, then I'm still gonna end up with that like uneven chunk situation. Like, I don't know how well you can see, like this is happening. So now I've learned, next year I'm probably going to try to like alternate every other week, like shifting the trackers side to side, so that hopefully with all my stickers and my deco next year, it will be consistently chunky. Not like it matters. Anyway, all right, so I always start by sectioning off the left side, and they conveniently give you these little dots as guides, so you can section it off. Well, obviously you could section it off as many times as you want, but they give you 2 little dots, so you could do thirds. And I used to do that, and I would use each little third as breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So that's a great way if you are a person that likes to meal track. That's a great way to use the left side, but I no longer track my meals because I have gotten really good at putting them in a digital tracker. So it just felt redundant to have that here. And I know that can also be a little bit triggering for some people. And I do show my weeks often in YouTube videos. So for various purposes, I've decided to shift meals out of there. Anyway, who asked? So what I do put here is the smaller section is where I have been, and this is actually kind of new. So I don't think I've actually said this yet in a video. For the last couple weeks, I've started doing this and it's really working. So I am keeping any kind of notes about how I'm feeling that day. Like if I'm experiencing any kind of symptoms of any sort, like if I start feeling sick, if, I don't know, my period is doing something weird, whatever. I'm leaving little notes there, little health notes, just anything that I think might be of note. I'm writing that there. And I have been putting these Coffee Monster Co. sticky notes on top for privacy reasons because, like I mentioned, this planner is frequently in my videos, which is really great because I actually had no idea how I was going to use these. So that is already like a great solution for me. And I'm happy that I have a reason to use these because otherwise I don't know. I bought these and then I was like, I actually don't know how I want to use them. So that has been cool for me. And then the days that I don't really have anything to write health-wise, I've just been putting a sticker of the day that kind of matches my theme for the week. So that makes it a little bit fun. And then over here, didn't have much to write this week, but this is where I'm writing my movement. I am a dance teacher, so most of the time it's just like how many hours I taught and what styles I taught. But if I do any other kind of workouts, that's what I'm writing there. In the summertime when I'm not teaching so much, a lot more information gets written about that stuff. But yeah, so that's the left side of the spread. And then the right side is primarily trackers, as you've seen. So let's go ahead and get started with that. Hopefully I don't mess this up. Like I mentioned, I'm gonna shift my trackers over, which I've never done before. So we gotta, I think, actually count out the squares. I've gotten my system down really well to do this quickly like this, but we're gonna have to take a little bit extra time today to make sure we have the spacing down right. So it's 6 things. And the Coffee Monster Co. tiny icons are so perfect for trackers. If you are in the market for stickers to help make tracking easier in your life, highly recommend the Coffee Monsters Co. Because these are perfect, and she's got a zillion different tiny icons and she's constantly coming out with more. And then she also sells the weekly overviews, which are helpful. Okay, so we're gonna count 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this first tracker that I'm setting up is a pretty generic habit tracker. These are just things that don't like have to happen, but things that I would ideally like to be doing. Maybe not necessarily every single day, but like a couple times a week. So that first one is just like chores around the house, cleaning. The second one is doing something involving spirituality. The sun is whether or not I got 8 hours of sleep. No, that's not true. The moon is whether or not I got 8 hours of sleep. The sun is if I spent time outside, got my daily vitamin D. And then honestly, Helen was like in my brain when she decided to make the skincare sheet 2 different icons. I don't know how she knew that I needed 2 different icons on this one sheet, but she did. So on this tracker, I used the little dropper bottle, and this represents exfoliant skincare. And I only track that just to make sure that I don't do that multiple days in a row because that's a little too harsh for my sensitive skin. And then the no icon is for no spend days. And as you can see, these little icon stickers fit perfectly inside the week's boxes, which is why I recommend them so much. Cool. So now we gotta find a weekly overview that we like. That one could work. Some weeks if I don't have one that I like, I'll just use a Tombow and just draw the circles myself to do it. Which actually, this week might be one of those weeks. Because I'm actually running kind of low on these. You know what? We'll use this one and this one just to kind of use them up. Having stickers like this is truly so helpful because if you're like me at least, kind of ADD, not kind of, very much diagnosed ADHD, it can be tedious to have to do a lot of like manual tracker creating, and I think that definitely makes it hard to develop consistent habits when it comes to this kind of thing, right? So something as simple as these stickers can just like be such a game changer when it comes to creating a lasting habit for yourself, especially if like you're new to this sort of thing. If you are not someone that historically has tracked things, just, you know, the less friction there is between you and making that habit happen, the better. I think most of us understand that, but it's like what specific things are creating friction for us. And for me, it was having to create, you know, my own setups and things. It's the same reason why I am not a bullet journaler. I love bullet journals. I'm so jealous of people's beautiful spreads and the fact that they can be so customizable. But I would never be able to get myself to have to create something from scratch like that so frequently. So help yourself out where you can, even if it's just like something as simple as like a little tiny icon sticker. Okay, so that's the habit tracker. And then the tracker I do underneath that is the one that correlates to my mental health game that I mentioned earlier. So that one, I use some of the same icons. So for this tracker, and when I say mental health, these are more so just things that like, when I'm not feeling my best are the things that I tend to start neglecting. So when I look at this tracker, I can see one, like how I was feeling that week. But it also motivates me to actually do these things. Cause like I'll open up my planner and be like, oh crap, I only did like one of those things yesterday. Like I need to push myself to get out of whatever funk and actually, you know, do these habits. So on this tracker, the laundry basket represents doing something from, oh wait, this is not right. This is the last thing I put on the tracker actually. Not like the order matters that much, but I do it the same every week, so I feel like it'll mess me up if they're in a different order. This is if I completed a task from my long-term to-do list, which is like bigger projects. So this is not one that I expect myself to check off every day, but I try to get at least one every week. And then, why am I doing this so out of order? This is why. Okay, the first thing I put on this tracker is medication. Did I take my medication? That one's pretty straightforward. The tooth is not just if I brushed my teeth, because that I do brush my teeth every day, okay? The tooth is if I did all of the dental hygiene things that I should do, meaning brush your teeth at least twice a day, floss at least once a day, you know, did I use mouthwash, etc. So that's what that is. I use the makeup for whether or not I got dressed in the morning, because I do have a remote part-time job that I do during the day. So If I really wanted to, I could stay in my pajamas all day, and sometimes I do, and that's not good, and I don't recommend it. So this is like, did I get ready for the day? Reading. And then the last one is the other skincare icon, and this is just, did I do my full skincare routine? So yeah, seems like these two trackers could probably be combined, but again, the way I view these is that these are things that I am hoping to do just for like my general well-being, and these are things that definitely correlate to whether or not my mental health was doing okay. So do with that information what you will. Hopefully that's a couple more ideas for you on things that you can be tracking in your weeks. You know, some people use their weeks purely as a mental health planner, which I was using something else as a mental health planner, and then I realized that like I didn't need an entire planner for the things that I was putting in there, which is why I was able to combine it into the weeks. And that's something that I really love about this planner, is because it's so flexible, like there's so many different ways you could divide up these pages. Like truly your options are endless. And you can fit so much in them, especially also when you take into consideration that you have all these notes pages in the back. So for the things that I don't need to track on a weekly basis, I have put them in the notes. So period tracker, which I actually, to be honest, have stopped putting in here just because, again, this is something that is being tracked digitally, and it doesn't feel necessary to go in here anymore. Measurements, that's just, I don't know. We don't really need to talk about that. Skincare empties. Might seem like a weird thing to be tracking, but honestly, this has been really helpful for me. So hear me out. This is something I think you should maybe consider tracking if it's relevant to you, but this helps me make decisions on whether or not I want to repurchase things, because I can see like how long it took me to go through an entire product. And it also shows me like how often I'm spending money on skincare. And separately, I actually do track how much money I have spent on skincare in my budget, which is something I do digitally. But I have referenced this multiple times. Like, I decided not to repurchase this cleansing oil because I looked in my previous planner and saw when I had bought it through my skincare empties and realized I go through this cleansing oil so much faster than I was going through previous cleansing oils. So information like that, helpful. Baking bucket list, this is just kind of for fun. So of course, you can use these planners to be something super productive, health and habits tracking, but like you can also make it something that's just kind of for fun, right? Like sort of when I was talking about tracking my hobbies, right? Like this is not something that's like imperative information for like who I am, but it makes it fun and it made me motivated to actually do these things more. And the same thing goes here. Like having this written out, having something that I can physically check off makes me want to go and bake more. And I think that's just like a good thing to remember in general when you're thinking about how you want to use your planners. Like to me, the purpose of the planner is to keep me on track and to help me be motivated to you know, do the things in my life that I want to be doing, to spend my energy in the way that I want to be spending my time and energy. So when I was talking about like removing friction with like stickers and stuff like that, like that's so important because I think there are so many people that end up using planners and they're like, oh, it's not working for me. It's not working for me. And I think we need to remember that like, instead of the conversation being, what ways should I be using this planner? Like what actually I should write on this planner. Instead, it needs to be, what in my life do I need to be working on? Like that's the question you need to start with. And then you take that and go, how does this work on paper? Instead of opening up the spread and going, okay, how do I use this spread? That was like such a long-winded way basically to say, you need to figure out why you are using your planner before you figure out how you are going to use the planner. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah, so lots of different things to track here. I also track new washies. Again, this is just a for funsies thing, right? And this is just a fun spread to kind of look at. It makes me happy. So let's go back to finishing my setup. Oops, I lost it. Oh my goodness. Cool. Okay, so we're gonna finish up making these trackers look good with a couple lines. And then I use the Tombos just to give me some guides. Otherwise, I will put check marks in the wrong spot. It's just something I've learned about myself. Alrighty. And then other than this, the rest of the things that I put on this spread can kind of vary week to week. So like I showed you, my monthly challenge right now is studying Korean. So I have been adding a tracker for that. And I think I'm going to go ahead and use these horizontal. This is new. This came in my June pre-order package. So let's go ahead and use this purple one. And we don't need that many rows, so yeah, we can just, I think, put it right here. How do we want to do this? Should we use the book icon maybe for like studying? Or wait, let's use the glasses because I never use this one. Cool. So this will be how I track whether or not I did 10 minutes of Korean. And the only reason why I am tracking this here and on the monthly page is because this is the page that I'm going to open up every single day. You know, like throughout the day. Whereas like the monthly page, I really only update that maybe once a day or every few days. So this just like is a good place to be able to note it just in case I forget. You know what I'm saying? And again, that's on removing friction for myself with these habits. Like if I didn't have it here, there would probably be days where I forget to write it down at all. And then I'd be like, I don't remember if I actually studied Korean on Monday because I forgot to write it down. So putting it in multiple places hopefully alleviates that problem. All right. Do we want to draw a line there? We may as well. And then I guess we can highlight it. Do we want to do 2 lines? Let's just do a line at the top just to keep it consistent with the other ones. I guess we'll go back to the blue. Cool. So that'll be my 10 minutes of Korean. I guess I'll write. I'll write 10 minutes of Korean just in case I'm ever referencing back to this and I'm like, what is this? And I think that this week, that is all I need to track. Some weeks I'll put what I'm reading, but I haven't really been reading, I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I'll put just like some self-care kind of things I really want to try to do. You could put your like chore priorities. That's what I used to do a lot. Your options are endless. Okay, so last thing is decorating, clearly, which is my favorite part. Also probably the most unnecessary part, right? But again, anything that is going to help you develop the habit of using your planner consistently, which is then going to help you do whatever you're trying to do consistently, is a positive. So being excited to decorate my spread each week is what drives me to set this up each week, which ultimately drives me to actually do these things each week. Enough said on that. Okay, I think we should layer these. Let's do bubbles and then the little water drops. And I think actually though I am going to use the white out because this one has a white background. I have my little Spy Family whiteboard, pencil board here, just to make this a little bit easier because since we are well into the year and my weeks is nice and chunky. Oops, I just scraped that off. Using the whiteout is getting a little bit harder because, oh my gosh, because the planner is so uneven. Yeah, see, that's why this is going so poorly. It's because the planner is not flat. See, and then on this side, it's easy. Good enough. I like to decorate, but I'm not going to stress about it if it doesn't go perfectly. Which is something else that I know sometimes can paralyze people when it comes to using their planners, is like this perception that everything needs to be perfect. And the thing that I try to like tell myself when I you know, make mistakes or whatever is like, I always have the next week to try again. At least as a weekly planner, right? Like, okay, if I made a mistake this week or I did something that I realized I don't like doing, cool. I've learned something. I learned that I don't like when I set up my tracker that way. And next week I'll just try again and try a new way. Which is fun and exciting. And then eventually you might find planner peace. And then your life may change a little bit, and then you have to experiment again. And I think that's like kind of really fun about planning. Because like a year ago, I would say that I found planner peace, and now we're talking about going into 2026 and what kind of planners we're going to be using and stuff. And I'm realizing that there are some things that I want to change, and that in certain aspects, my planners aren't meeting my needs perfectly. So we're going to keep experimenting. But overall, I think I have developed a pretty good planning system for myself, especially when I look back over the past couple years. Speaking of that is something I have been thinking about making a video about, is like kind of flipping through some old planners and just kind of talking about the evolution of my planning process. Let me know if that's something you'd be interested in. I think it's kind of cool to see how people have learned what works for them and what doesn't. And I have certainly tried planning a number of different styles. So maybe it could help someone be exposed to something new that they've never seen. I don't know. Let me know if you'd be interested in that. I used to work or plan in Passion Planner. I've used Dreamy Moon's journal planners. I've used a couple other various things. So yeah, let me know if you'd be interested in that. Okay. Cute little jellyfish. And then I also just grabbed these just in case we wanted to fill in any space with probably like these tealer ones. I wish I had the like purple hue version of this sheet. Sticky Rice Co. announced a couple days ago that she is no longer going to be selling these holographic sticker sheets, which actually broke my heart. And I left a comment on her post about it, like begging her not to. But I guess like they just don't sell as well as they used to, she said. So she's actually doing a clearance on them right now. And even though I just recently bought a bunch from her, because she did her birthday sale, I went a little cuckoo with buying these hollow sheets. Because if they're going to be gone, I'm like devastated, because they're like my favorite thing to decorate with. So yeah, go check out Sticky Rice Co. If you're interested in these. Hopefully they're not all sold out yet. She's also on TikTok Shop, and I normally only purchase through her website. I'm not a TikTok Shop person, but I actually was able to get a really crazy coupon on the TikTok Shop. So I got the clearance stickers for even cheaper. So yeah, you can maybe try to make that happen for yourself too. Love a good deal. And my understanding is like if TikTok gives you a coupon, the seller isn't like they're still receiving the full amount. Like TikTok is covering that coupon difference, I think. Someone can let me know if I'm wrong about that, because if I'm wrong about that, then I actually feel bad for purchasing things super cheap like that. Because I am all about supporting small businesses. If you are new to my channel, you probably don't know this, but if you're not new to my channel, maybe you've noticed that I only ever really use stationery from small businesses. You won't catch me buying a bunch of stickers and stuff from drop shippers that are just using stolen images they found on the internet. That's just my personal take on that. And I know it's a lot more expensive to be buying small business hand-drawn stickers. I get that. That's not super accessible to everybody, but I also think there are millions of ways to be really creative in your planners for free that don't require you to buy stolen art. You know what I mean? Just saying. I'm not trying to shame anybody. You do you. These are so cute. Like all the little bubbles. Yeah, let's just add the rest of the bubbles. And then I think that's probably going to be it. I guess we should just throw this heart on here since we have it. Yeah. Cool. Very cute. It's throwing me off a little bit that my trackers are on the other side of the page. But I feel kind of dumb that I didn't realize sooner into the year that, like, obviously my planner was gonna become uneven when I put the deco on the same area every single week. So, lessons learned for next year. Like I said, every week is a new week in your planner. You can always try something new again. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for being here. I hope you got some new ideas for your planner. Let me know if you did. If there's something that you think maybe you're going to try in your planner next year, I would love to know that. Or if you have any suggestions for me, please let me know. Until my next video, I hope you have a great rest of your week. Thanks for watching. Bye.